Hello, I'm Jumpy23, showing you what is, to my knowledge, the first ever clear of Sacred Stones, Ephraim Route Chapter 9 on 0% growths. So, this map was long considered impossible if you didn't get the Elysian Whip in Chapter 8, because there are some really frustrating enemies, but in fact you can just barely kill them. So stat check, this soldier has to be one-shot by Kyle with a javelin, so does this one. And these two cavaliers have to be one-shot by Seth with a javelin. There's probably a bunch of other stat rolls that matter, but I didn't check them. Here's Inventories. Mostly you need to pay attention to Seth, Kyle, and Forde's inventories. Everyone else kind of just putters around the starting area. One mistake that I make is not putting the Slim Lance in Kyle's inventory, which will come up on turn 4 enemy phase. I'll talk about it when it comes up. So, every turn until the end of turn 6, Forde and Seth have to full move. In addition, Seth has to be dropped forward 1 tile on turn 1, which we do here, and Kyle has to full move until the end of turn 4 and be dropped forward a few tiles on turn 2, which we'll do then. Seth, the crux of this clear is that Seth is going to take a bunch of combat by being at low HP to bait enemies. So for his first few combats, I'm going to rig him to get hit, including one-shotting that Armor Knight there. And then I'm going to have to rig him to dodge basically everything. Go Ultra Instinct mode, so it's an interesting dichotomy. For the same reason, we give the Angelic Robe to Forde, so that his HP is high, so he doesn't bait enemies. That shouldn't matter in a full game run, because it doesn't really do anything important. But I'm taking it away from Ephraim, which is who takes it in Graded Sticks LTC record currently. This status staff has to miss, and Franz has to live that enemy phase. Forde doesn't have to crit, it just helps a little, but we take those. Forde will usually one-shot this archer. He rolled super big stats on this clear, but Forde is holding the killing edge, so we just deal with him that way rather than keep rolling for enemy stats. The status staff only has to miss on player phase, or on enemy phase 1, then Molder is able to restore, but the first turn he's just too far away and we can't spare anybody to rescue drop him. Kyle uses the Pure Water so that he doesn't get status staffed on turns 2 and 3, and so that he doesn't get attacked by mages on turn 4. So there was the rescue drop of Kyle. Now he's going to have to full move for the next 2 turns. My 5 move units just clean up some enemies around the starting area, and that's basically the last thing they're going to do for the rest of the map. So on this enemy phase, Seth is going to take 1 hit and Forde's going to take a hit. We don't care what happens to Forde, but Seth needs to get hit by his Cavalier, so his HP is lower on the next enemy phase. It would actually be better if the Sleep Staffer hit, because then Molder could get some staff XP with Restore, but since this isn't a full game run, I don't actually care. So here's the first soldier that Kyle needs to be able to one-shot with his Javelin. That's 15 attack and 6 AS. The AS is usually not a problem, but the attack can be. You need the soldiers to roll low on HP and defense. We are going to leave this knight or this soldier alive so that the knight with the horse slayer doesn't move. And Forde is going to take the pure water here and chug it for the mages on turn 4, and because he's going to get sleep staff targeted on turn 5. It's slightly more reliable if Forde manages to, or it's better if Forde manages to crit that Cavalier, because then Ephraim can dump his stuff in the convoy rather than having it traded off to Franz. Then he can grab the Regan Leaf back out of the convoy later. But it's not a big deal if this happens, it's only a slight reliability decrease. This is the worst enemy phase in the clear. I could not figure out a way for Seth to not have to crit with a javelin. There are 2 knights and we need to kill one of them. They're holding steel lances and javelins. If they were only holding steel lances, Seth could just kill them. But if you equip anything stronger than a javelin, they'll attack from 2 range. So unfortunately, this is the one low percent crit in the entire clear, and it is on enemy phase. Most of the unreliability here just comes from Seth and Kyle's survivability. The combat is not too bad except for the Geb boss kill and this one crit. Forde has to dodge one of these 2 hits, or else an extra Cavalier will go for Forde instead of Seth here. We need him to go for Seth because otherwise he'll block Kyle's way. Seth's HP value is very specific here. If it's too low, Amelia will attack him instead of Ephraim next turn and die. If it's too high, enemies will attack Kyle instead of him on turn 5 and Kyle will die. So I found that 7 plus a vulnerary works. 18, which would mean he didn't get hit at all, probably also works, but I never got an enemy phase that worked out for that. That's the last combat contribution Kyle needs to do. Now he doesn't have to full move anymore. Joshua's just going to pick up some XP at the starting area because he's the best recipient of it. But nobody outside of our Cavaliers and Ephraim matters anymore. That's actually not true. Tana also matters. So we unequip Ephraim here. Because Amelia will attack him, and that way she doesn't die. And our Amelia recruitment strategy is going to be pretty cool. At least I think so. It's not super reliable, but it's very cool. And here's where I should have put the Slim Lance in Kyle's inventory to equip it on this turn with Seth trading. We want Kyle to not kill the 6 HP Armor Knight, so that he takes less combat on this enemy phase. And then Tana, Combat Goddess Tana, baits this mage on the top right away so that he doesn't block the hallway. With this specific formation, the Merc, or Amelia will attack Ephraim. If she hits, the Merc will also attack Ephraim, and Kyle takes very little combat. Both mages and the archer go for Seth because his HP is low enough. And Kyle only takes 1 Javelin, Cavalier, and the Knight. He has to dodge the Knight, though. And he has to not kill it, or else the other Merc will attack him, and the Merc doubles. So that's pretty bad. Seth has to get hit by both mages. His HP value on turn 5 is very specific. If it is 8, then enemies will attack Kyle instead of Seth, as far as I can tell. It has to be like 6, which fortunately it will be by the next enemy phase. So that's where stat rolls really come in. It's like Seth taking one or more or less damage. But there's probably a lot of ways for it to work out. You've just gotta like try it with your individual rolls. So Kyle is just gonna rescue Amelia and run like hell for the rest of the map, chugging an elixir every turn. And Seth equips an Iron Lance here at low HP to do his part in baiting enemies away from Kyle. This is a pretty precarious enemy phase for both Seth and Kyle. I didn't do the math on like anything here, but I had to burn like 30 RNs to make it work. He equips an Iron Lance because he needs to kill the soldier that's going to attack him from the bottom, and Iron Lance is the best way to do that because it's the most hit. It also makes him not counter mages, which makes their AI slightly more reliable. So this is the last turn where Kyle faces any chance of death. After that, it's only Seth who is going to face any. But this is the last unreliable enemy phase. If you get through this, you've basically won. Well, maybe not quite, but... The Luna Druid only has like 30 hit, but this Flux Mage over here has 66 hit and did far too many enemy phase attempts. Kyle also equips an Iron Lance because it gives him a better chance to not be doubled by Javelin Cavaliers, because it gives him 3 AS and they usually have 6, but that one rolled 7. Fortunately, he doesn't get hit by both hits, but now this is where all the full moving comes into play, is Forde kills this soldier and Seth stands on his corpse, which baits away an archer and a knight that are both blocking a 1-tile choke point. This is why people used to think that you needed 3/8 move units, one to kill the knight, one to kill the archer, but they actually move on enemy phase if you're in their range. Which is what the rescue drop on turn 1 was for. It gave Seth 1 extra tile, and then he full moved every turn so he could stand in their range. If Forde's HP is too low, the mage probably attacks him, which is bad, but in this case, because Forde took the pure water, he won't die, so the mage is going to go for Kyle, or for Seth. The mage can kill Seth, because the armor knight has like double weapon trial disadvantage, he almost never does, and the archer literally does no damage, but the mage can kill Seth, but it's not like super likely, it's like 50-50. The end-to-end reliability on this clear is definitely god-awful, but the only truly bad enemy phase was the one with the 3% Javelin crit, which you have 4 chances for at least. So Kyle moves up here because none of these enemies will be able to attack him since an archer is standing in their way. Ephraim eats a vulnerary, which causes the shaman in the throne room not to target him and to target Seth instead. And here, if Ephraim had the Regan Leaf, he could equip it to do some damage to this Merc, but it's not a big deal. Forde is still holding the killing edge, and he will just crit the Merc. So yeah, I don't know if you've ever seen so many enemies left alive at the end of the 2-tile wide choke point map. But here we are. We're gonna seize with 22 enemies on the map. Like half of them standing in striking distance of Kyle, but blocked off by an archer, which is pretty funny. And just the standard unreliable Geb kill here. It's a double killing edge critical, and since Seth is on 1 HP, he also has to dodge like a 43 displayed hand axe hit. And that was Ephraim 9, or Ephraim Route Chapter 9 in 8 turns. I hope you enjoyed. And I hope the commentary was informative. My first time trying to commentate a Fire Emblem video. Thanks for watching.